Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with a little bit more Entitled Parents. This one is an absolute banger and I have a feeling you're gonna love this one. This will be one of at least 3 videos that I post in the next week, so make sure to keep an eye out for those. If you do want to see more, don't forget to smash the like button and I will give you 17,805 Bumfris points. Otherwise though, just sit back, relax, and get annoyed at some Entitled Parents. So I'll start with a little backstory. I work as a technician at a cinema. It's really fun and I enjoy every day. But I do meet my fair share of entitled parents. I've been kicked, yelled at, and thrown popcorn at on several occasions. As you all know, Frozen 2 is currently on the program. It attracts a lot of people, and so it sets up in our biggest auditorium. This specific show was packed. That means a little over 400 people. The cast for this one is me and the entitled mother. In the first 15 minutes, I have to check that everything is going fine in the auditorium. For example, the temperature, sound, and so forth. I stand to the side and see a mother coming over to me with her kids and doing so rather loudly. She spoke really loudly during our entire conversation and said, "Excuse me, hello?" I ask her if everything's alright and she says, "My daughter needs to use the bathroom." I just say, "Okay, it's out the door and to the right." And she says, "No, you have to pause the movie." Kind of confused, I just say, "What? I can't pause the movie unless it's something very serious." And she says, "My daughter needs to go to the bathroom." And I just say, "Sorry, but I can't pause for that." She tells me that there was a line before the movie and that they don't want to miss any part of the movie. They paid a lot of money to see this movie and that I am required to do this. I tell her I'm sorry, but there is a packed auditorium and I can't just pause it for one person. She then tells me that she has 2 kids. And I just say, if you need to use the bathroom, you can do that during the movie. But I can't pause it while you do. If you'll excuse me, I have to go on to the next auditorium now. I turn and start to exit the auditorium and suddenly I feel something thrown at my head. Yeah, our biggest, I don't know what the exact word is and Google Translate says goblet, so popcorn goblet. This was a bad choice, lady. I got out of the auditorium and the manager called security and she was taken out of the cinema. She surprisingly didn't make much noise, but one of her kids spit on our security guy. We didn't press any charges because it was sort of minor and no one got hurt on our part. I did have a bump on my head the next day though. You know, I've read a lot of Entitled Parents stories. I was having a look at it before and this is the 62nd episode of Entitled Parents that I've done since the start of last year, I think. And let's be honest, we've come across some pretty messed up stories where some people have got seriously hurt and there's been some pretty serious consequences. But not once in these 62 episodes have I come across somebody who was so stupid as to ask somebody to pause a movie at a cinema. I truly am not sure how important you must think that you and your children are that every single person in that cinema should have to pause the movie. But if this person truly thought that that was an acceptable thing to do, well, they really need to look at themselves in the mirror. What did I tell you at the start of the episode? This one's going to be a banger and 2.5 minutes in, you're already seeing it. So a while ago, my mum, aunt, cousin and I all went on vacation to Disney World. We live pretty dang north of Florida, so of course, we took a plane. My mum and I both already knew that my aunt was kind of an ass, so we knew the next weekish was going to be at least a little headache inducing. We got off the plane, and as soon as we got to our hotel, my aunt started complaining. There wasn't enough room, the beds didn't feel good, we were too far of a walk from the entrance, anything and everything was an annoyance to her. We wanted to get out of the room, so we got in a convertible we rented, and my aunt was jumping to drive it. So, we let her. At the theme park, we like to just chill out in the shops. And because we were already in shops, we would do some shopping. It started pretty tame. My mum and I broke off from my aunt and cousin to just get away from them for a while. But we noticed something very specific every time we found something we liked. If we said anything along the lines of, "Ooh, this looks cute," my aunt and cousin would be there in seconds and buy it for themselves. No hesitation, no second thoughts. We'd say it and they would buy it. And they had to have it first. We were kind of like about it at first, but it got pretty amusing over time. So we tried doing it with things that we didn't even like. Stupid gimmicky t-shirts, they'd buy them. Crappy plastic toys, they'd buy them. Normal ass jeans, they'd buy them. It did start getting a little difficult though. Some items we liked were just about to be sold out, so we had to be quiet about them if we liked them or not, so they wouldn't swoop in and take them before we could. The same thing happened with the rides too. All they did was cut us off to be on the rides first. There was a point where I was feeling super nauseous and all I wanted to do was go back to the hotel to cool off for a bit. But my cousin wanted to ride more roller coasters. My mum was gone doing something else, so my aunt told my cousin that I would go on rides with her. I told her that I was feeling too sick to ride anything else, but my cousin started fake crying. My aunt then started getting mad at me for not going on rides with her daughter, and I was getting angry that they wouldn't let me go back to the hotel. We argued about it for a bit, but I ended up getting on the rides with my cousin. We got off the ride, my cousin said that she didn't even enjoy the ride, and I ended up throwing up. My aunt got mad at me for throwing up. I told her that I didn't even want to ride it in the first place, and we ended up saying barely 2 words to each other for the rest of the day. A day or two after, we went to a store that was selling Lilo and Stitch merch. My mum and I saw a massive stuffed animal of Stitch. It was the last one we had, and we said something like, "Oh whoa, look at that Stitch, that's cool." Now guess who bought it? My aunt. We weren't upset that they got it, we weren't going to buy a massive stuffed animal anyway, and I don't even know where we could put it in our house. So, the day continued like normal. They lugged that massive thing around all day, scuffed it up from dragging it around the ground, and they almost lost it once. We went back to the hotel room and my aunt drove again. As every day passed, the same thing would happen. There's no point in going into the nitty gritty about it, as I think you guys get it. It was the last day of our vacation. My mum and I didn't get to drive the convertible once because my aunt was always bouncing off the walls to get in at first. We packed up our stuff and went to the airport to leave Florida. But before we could actually go home, my aunt realized that some of the clothes and the massive Stitch stuffed animal she brought were too big to fit in her suitcase, and too big to be carried on. So they had to leave them in Florida. My cousin was pretty upset that she couldn't bring it with her, and she cried and cried and cried. But I felt nothing but the meanest happiness. They spent all that time trying to be first, and it was always me, me, me. But it backfired because they couldn't even bring all the crap they brought back home with them. And honestly, that's all I heard about for nearly the entire plane ride home. Man, do you guys know just how much I love a story where everything goes bad for the entitled parents? Because this one is like the absolute epitome of an entitled parent having everything go wrong. Seriously, I can't imagine having to travel with somebody like this in the first place. Like, why did they ever think it was going to be a good idea? And why did they then decide that they were going to follow through with those plans to travel with them? I guess we'll never know. But hey, at least they got a little satisfaction at the end of the trip when all that happened was the entitled kid complaining and the entitled mum eating her own words. Honestly, to me, sounds like a win for everybody involved. So my entitled aunt is a hoarder and a cheapskate, amongst other things. So she is constantly at my grandma's house to take care of her. It's obviously not because she doesn't want to have to pay her own heating and water bills in her 2 houses that she had to buy to accommodate all the stuff that she's hoarding. In other posts, I've mentioned that my grandmother has 14 kids. So I get buying a present for everyone is hard, but this was insane. The preface is my uncle giving out little magnet calendars every year that has everyone's birthday on it. There's about 80 people in my family because all of my cousins, so it's really hard to keep track of. This year, my entitled aunt printed out 13 pieces of paper that had this message on it, for the original 14. In an effort to revive snail mail, use uncle's calendar to send out birthday cards to any one of us in our generation, including their spouses, any time in the month of their birthdays. Then let me know when you've done it, and I will set aside $5 to get Mama Kroger/JC gift card in your name. Gotta love win-wins. I'm sure I'll be eating the food she buys anyway. Lol. Happy New Year. So her gift to the family is us buying her food. Thanks, Aunt Karen. You know, your lovely Aunt Karen sounds like a real piece of work. I mean, the fact that she was able to afford 2 houses just to store all of the stuff that she was hoarding, but she still feels the need to be a cheapskate and scrounge off everyone else in her family is pretty pathetic. Like for real, if you have one house and you're struggling for money a little bit and your family help out, you know what? I'm absolutely all for that. But when you've got 2 houses, you clearly have enough money to be able to support 2 entire homes. If you're then looking to other people for money, should you really have 2 houses? Probably not, right? You know what? Each Karen and each entitled parent to their own, because I will never ever understand what goes through their minds. I work for a rental car company in the airport. As any rental company does, we have a number of requirements in order to rent a car. You have to be a certain age, pay with a credit card in your name, and put down a deposit. One of the requirements I think is pretty self-explanatory is that you need a valid driver's license. Anyway, the entitled mum walks up carrying a 2 or 3-year-old child and doesn't have a reservation. Not a big deal. I grab her some keys, get her a quote. She says everything sounds good. I ask for her license and start entering her information. Now, the license expired in March of 2018, which is like a year and a half ago. I told her that I needed her new license, and she said that that was the only one she had. I told her that because it was expired, I couldn't rent to her. She immediately got angry. She insisted that she was a safe driver. She said that she didn't know that she needed to renew her license. She asked if I would make an exception, and I told her that there was absolutely no way I could make an exception on not having a valid license. She then literally shrieked, "But I have a baby," and asked what I expected her to do. I told her that I'd recommend taking an Uber and renewing her license. She, still shouting, went, "You expect me to Uber with my baby?" And I just told her yes. She guaranteed me that some other rental company in the building would give her a car. I let her on her way and wished her the best of luck. I heard the same scream about her baby 6 additional times as she tried every additional counter in the building. You know, I seriously would have thought that it was common sense that you needed a license to be able to not only rent a car, but to then drive said car, but I guess common sense just doesn't apply to entitled parents. I think when we talk about some of the less smart people in society, this lady definitely falls into that category. Not only is she then going to be driving around unlicensed and uninsured, she's putting her baby at risk and herself at risk as well. I mean, seriously, how hard is it to just hire an Uber and jump online and pay for your new license? I mean, I don't know where this is based, but in Australia, it's like literally the easiest thing ever to just jump online and pay for a new license. I don't even know how to explain it. Oh well, as I always say, each entitled parent to their own. They're just never gonna learn. So this happened a few months ago during a party where some of my cousins came around. There is one cousin in particular who was 7 and was bratty and spoiled, and so was his mum. So I was just hanging around having some food, but decided to go upstairs and get my phone when I see my cousin was near my room with the entitled mum. I politely tell them that my room is off limits, but I have toys downstairs in the playroom. I go downstairs to have some food, and I don't think much about them until I notice the entitled mum and her child still haven't come down to have food, so I go upstairs to find them. To my surprise, the parent has let her child into my room and he's now playing on my 3DS. So I politely ask the entitled mum why they've come into my room after I said not to, and she says, "It's fine. It's not like he's going to break anything." But I still ask the son to put my 3DS back, and I ask them to leave my room. And the entitled mum just shouts back at me and says, "It's fine." I go downstairs to play soccer with my other cousins, but decided to go inside and have a quick shower. And what I saw in my room was horrifying. The entitled mum had let her child break my Lego. The entitled mum's child had gotten my Lego Star Destroyer, which I got for my birthday, and rammed it into a bunch of my Legos. For example, my Lego police truck was in pieces, and my Lego police station, which was destroyed along with the Star Destroyer. I was now really mad, as she had said that he wouldn't break anything and lied. So I ran downstairs and got my mum, who yelled at the entitled mum and her bratty child and told them to leave. The entitled mum was still yelling insults as she got into her car and drove away. My poor Legos that I spent ages on were destroyed. You know, I assume this person's a young child, and honestly as a young child, I can't think of anything that would be more heartbreaking than someone coming into your room and destroying your Legos that you worked so hard to put together. I mean, if there really was some kind of bright side, and there's not, but hey, if you want to try and look at something that's a little bit positive, at least you get to have the fun of putting them together again, right? No, I take that back. There's literally no one that has ever said, "Hey, let's just destroy my Legos and I'll put them together again." I can't think of anything worse for a kid. This entitled mum should literally never be allowed to step foot back in this house again. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of Entitled Parents. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought this was a pretty good episode. We got quite a few stories in here. I think there were, 4 or 5, which is pretty good. It's better than the 2 or 3 that we sometimes get in, and I thought they were pretty good stories. Make sure to do me a favor. Don't forget to smash like on the video, and that will let me know if you guys like it. And please engage with me in the comments. I'll try and respond to as many comments as I can, and I'll continue to do that while I've got a little bit more time off work, just so that you guys know that I am here. I do appreciate you guys, and I am still around for you guys. But for real, if I can get this video to 2,000 likes, I can promise you I will do a New Year's video tomorrow. First thing, you guys will absolutely love it, and I'm going to try and make it at least 20 minutes long. So 2,000 likes in the next 24 hours would be amazing. Otherwise though, real quick guys, I do just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who stuck around. A quick Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year. I didn't really get to chat with you guys over the Christmas period, so I'm sorry about that, but hey, here I am. Good opportunity to chat coming into the new year, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I want to achieve YouTube wise in the new year, probably in tomorrow's video. I won't get into that today, but most likely tomorrow or the next day I'll talk about that, so you guys know where we're at with video schedule, and how often I think I can realistically upload. Otherwise though guys, I do want to wrap things up there. I don't want this to drag on forever. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I love each and every single one of you. You are literally all the best people in the world. So again, thanks for tuning in as often as you guys do. I will see you guys very, very shortly. And again, I hope you all have a safe and happy new year. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.